Hi everyone, my name is Hannah Fox with our customer experience team, and today I'll be walking through a 10.1 preview. To upgrade, you can reach out to support@prosymmetry.com. There is also no cost to upgrade. More detailed release notes are available to download in the Tempus Resource Help Center, and if you have any specific questions about version 10.1, please reach out to support@prosymmetry.com. Within 10.1, we've added attribute value weighting. Administrators can associate numeric values to their selection and multi-selection values within attribute management. These numeric values will appear within project or resource management when selecting the attribute values. Selection and bool attribute types can then be used in custom calculated attributes to create custom scores. Bool attributes will have weights of 0 for no and 1 for yes by default. Within 10.1, you can add numeric values to your different types of attributes. So for your selection, multi-selection attributes, you can turn on this numeric value option. And then as you can see here, you see this numeric value option show up here where you can enter in the values that you want associated with your different values. So for this example, I'm just going to walk through a few different attributes and then set up a calculated attribute with those that we can determine which ones should be prioritized over others for your projects. So for example, here I have low. I want to make that numeric value 1, medium is a 2, and high is going to be a 3 for my business impact. Then I'm going to do urgency as my next one. So for here, you can see I have this numeric value turned on. So critical, I'll have 3, important, I'll have 2, and can wait, I'll have 1. And then you can also create bool attributes as well. So I have this strategic alignment bool field, which will default to 1 and 0, 1 for yes, 0 for no, out of the box. Then what I've done here is I've created this score associated with these different attributes, because now you can use selection and bool attributes as well within your calculated attributes. Previously, you could only use number, precision number, currency values, type attributes. So from here, you can see that I've added the urgency plus the strategic alignment plus the impact here. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Then I'm going to go into my attribute layout area, and I've added this area for prioritization, and I've added the business impact, urgency, and strategic alignment here, and then the priority score below, which is the calculated field. So now if I go into my project management area, so I'm open to project here, I can select the business impact that's associated for this one, and you can actually see the numbers here as well. So I'm going to choose medium, and then urgency, I'm going to say is important, and then strategic alignment, I'll say yes, it is aligned strategically. Once I save this, then you should see a value appear within your priority score. If you don't remember the calculation, you can hover over this little eye icon to see what your formula is. So once I have this here, you can hit save. And then if I go back into my project management screen, you can now choose to filter on the priority score as well. So I'm going to choose priority score. I'm going to say is set. And you can now see your different projects within here with the different scores associated to your different attributes that you've selected. So this is really helpful if you want to prioritize your projects based on different attribute values. Another new feature within 10.1 is resource request subtypes. Within General Settings and the Resource Requests tab, administrators can create custom subtypes that can be used within resource requests. They will need to give the new subtype a name and choose which out-of-the-box status, pending, approved, rejected, or delegated, that it will be associated with. Then, resource managers can choose the subtype instead of the out-of-the-box statuses when taking action on requests. Within 10.1, there have been some updates to resource requests. If I go to Admin Settings here, and then go to General Settings, and then the Resource Requests tab here, we now have this area called Resource Request Subtypes. Here you can add a new subtype and associate it with a current status in Tempus. So for example, I can say approved phase 1, and I can associate that with the approved status. You can associate it with any of the current statuses within Tempus, so approved, pending, rejected, or delegated. And if I save this here, you'll now see an approved item here. If I expand it, you'll see this subtype underneath. So now, if I go ahead and save this here, as a resource manager, who I'm logged in as right now, I can go ahead and go into my resource request screen here, I can open up one of my resource requests that's pending. And then I can go ahead and take an action on it with the subtypes that I have created within general settings. So for example, if this one needs more information, I can reject it, needs more information, and then I can go ahead and apply this change as well. Once I apply this, if I go into the request in BPA flat grid, so if I look at the assignment, let me select. If I hover over it, it should say the subtype naming convention here. Additionally, I can also take this action within BPA flat grid. So I can say I want to reject it. You can then choose which one you'd like to choose. Within resource requests, assignment attributes will now show the layout within pending requests. And from the pending request screen, managers can update assignment attributes and save the updates to be written back to the project, independent of taking action on the request. Another update that we've made within the resource request screen is that now you can edit assignment attributes within that screen as well. So the first step will be to go to admin settings, attribute management, and then go to your attribute layout. And you'll want to make sure you have an attribute layout assigned for your assignment attributes. So let me bring in all of these different attributes for assignments. I'm going to put them in the required fields area and go ahead and save this. So now what I can do is if I can go into my resource request screen as the manager, I can go ahead and open one of these up. And you should now see the layout that I created within there. So from here, I can now say, oh, I want to, add the active end date and the start date, and I want to add the assignment status. And I can go ahead and save this, and it should write this back into the project, regardless of if I apply my changes or not to the actual request. So now if I go back into Apollo Phase 14, let's take a look to see if the assignment attributes should now be filled out for this assignment. So I type in. So I go here, I can insert my columns. So active end date, active start date. So you can see now these have now been filled in from that update that I just made. This is a good way for the managers to communicate with the people that have been requesting these as well. Capacity can now be set for resources using fiscal periods as a time period. Fiscal periods must be configured by administrators within admin settings for this option to be available. If fiscal periods have been created within the environment, users can now edit capacity within the fiscal periods. So if I go to admin settings and go to fiscal period management, you can see that I have a 2026 fiscal year created. Now, if I go into one of my resources, and go into their capacity screen here, I now have the options of fiscal month, fiscal quarter, and fiscal year that I can use when I'm updating their capacity. Within 10.1, there's also been some updates to the single project allocation screen. Now, when viewing the planned and actual dataset and allocations, the datasets will now be labeled for clarity. Users can also pin columns within SPA, and they can also shift the project dates, financial dates, and/or schedule dates from this screen as well. In 10.1, we've also made some updates within the allocations page of the single projects. The first thing you may notice if you do not have actuals on your projects is this shift option here. Shift has been moved from the attributes page into the single project allocation screen and also the financials area. If I click on shift, I'll be able to choose a new start date for my project, and then I can click on shift project. Additionally, if I have financials on this project, which I do, I'll see the shift financials option, and additionally, you'll see a shift schedule option as well. You can also then change planned to planned and actual, and you'll then see different labels here for planned and actual to make it clear which line is for which data set. Additionally, within insert columns, you can now pin your columns. So if I choose this little pin icon here, you'll now see that these are now pinned, and if I scroll, it won't move and they will be stuck in place. Another update within the single project allocation screen is with assignment options. Assignment update has been added within assignment options within a single project. Users can select the assignment timeframe, which will default to the start and end dates of the projects. Then they can choose the granularity, time, cost, FTE, percentage FTE, or man days, and enter a value. Time, cost, and man days will be spread over the assignment duration, while FTE and percentage of FTE will be set consistently across the assignment duration. Another option that we've added within a single project allocation screen is within assignment options. If I go ahead and check out my project, I can click on the ellipses to go to assignment options. Now you'll also see this update option as well as clone and shift. The start and end date will default to the project start and end date, but you can change these for the assignment that you'd want to update. So if I want to just update, for example, November of 2025, so I can go to November and change it to November 2025 here. I can then choose which unit I'd like to update as well. So let's say I want to update hours to, let's say, 50 hours. I can go ahead and hit apply here, and it'll ask if you'd like to proceed. You can say yes. And then from here, you can see that this has now been updated 50 hours for that month. Within the financial types section of the financial categories tile, CapEx and OpEx are now system types that have been added. Within admin settings and the financial categories tile, under types, we now have out-of-the-box CapEx and OpEx system types. So now if I go into my categories here, I can choose these two types as well. So I don't have to create any custom ones that say OpEx and CapEx. They're already available to you as needed. Within a project's financials, the start and end dates for the project financials now default to the project start and end dates when checked out for the first time. When viewing more than one financial dataset, the datasets are now labeled for increased clarity. Shifting is also available within the financials area of a project to shift either the project start and end dates, financial start and end dates, and/or this project schedule start and end dates. This option is only available when there are no actual assignments on the project. We've also made some additions within the financials area of a project. Now, when you click checkout, the start and end dates of the project will automatically populate within the start and end dates of the financials area. You can still change these to be different than the project if needed, but now it'll auto-populate these dates. Additionally, you will see a shift option if there are no actuals on the project as well. If I click on shift, I have the option to shift the project, shift the financials if there are start and end dates, and also shift the schedule if needed. Lastly, we've added an option when you select more than one data set to see the different labels for the different rows associated to those data sets. Within this version, we've also made some updates to timesheets. The timesheet period selection menu now uses a drop-down menu instead of a date picker. Timesheets also now allow users to enter notes for each day within a timesheet. Additionally, timesheet approvers will also be able to view the daily notes when approving their timesheets. Within my timesheets, we've also made some updates. If I click on my timesheets, the first thing that you'll notice is that this is no longer a calendar option. Now it's going to be a drop-down list with the status of the timesheet periods and the names and the dates. You can still navigate to different ones by clicking on here as well. Additionally, we now have daily timesheet notes within the timesheet. If I hover over the days, you can see this note icon here, and I can go ahead and click on it and enter my note. I can go ahead and save this, and then you can see when I hover over this, you can see the note as well. Additionally, the timesheet approver will also be able to see the notes when they're approving the timesheet. So if I go back to my homepage and go to my timesheet management area, I can go ahead and open up the timesheet here that's been submitted. And I can hover over the note, or I can go ahead and click into it to see what they did for that task. Alongside the major updates in Tempus Resource version 10.1, this release also includes several additional enhancements that improve the overall user experience. These updates focus on usability and performance, helping teams move faster and find key information more easily. You'll notice small interface refinements that reduce friction and support more confident planning decisions. Together, these enhancements create a smoother, more efficient experience across Tempus Resource. There have also been some other updates made within 10.1. Now, system fields will have a sys tag and choose columns. So if I go into a resource management, for example, click on columns, you'll see this tag here to denote that the attribute is a system field. When not utilizing single sign-on, the SSO enabled option will be hidden from within a resource's attributes and identity screen. So if SSO is not configured within admin settings, you will no longer see that option here to enable it for their accounts. Searching within resource management and project management will now show results that are similar but also include any accent. So if I go back here and I type in Jose, for example, you should see this now appear when previously it did not. Within the project side of things now, if I go into the milestones area, you should now see icons when you're choosing the columns for your milestone attributes. Also within snapshots, we have now added a name field different from description. So if I create snapshot here, you can select your type, and then you can also give it a name, and you can also give it a description. We've also updated the screen a little bit as well. Within admin settings and view management, we've also added the allocation plus demand option for the BPA flat grid views. So within view management here, I can click on BPA flat grid. And you'll see now allocation demand is now a data set option. And then another thing that we've added within resource request is if the option for clearing the allocation on rejection is selected within the general setting. So if in resource request here, if allow manager to clear requested allocation or demand on rejection is checked, that clear option will now be checked automatically. So if I'm the resource manager, for example, and I go into resource requests, if I choose to reject this request, this will automatically be selected, and I will no longer have to choose whether or not to turn it to select it every time. Thank you for watching our 10.1 preview. You can find our release notes in our Help Center, and if you would like to upgrade, please email support@prosymmetry.com. Thank you.